In this episode, we will dive deep into dogs' diet world, pros and cons of various dog diets available for consumers and dog owners, with a special focus on raw diet. All that and more in today's episode. Hello dog lover, my name is Sarah. I'm a dog trainer, also coach dog owners. In this episode, we are going to talk about diet for dogs. Now, why would a dog trainer talk about dog diet? Well, I have a couple of reasons why I'm talking about it. One, first of all, was because I went through a hell of a situation with my own dog that caused a lot of health issues to develop, and we had to come up with a solution to heal him, to help him to get over these issues that he had. I'm talking about Jonah, my first beagle, who early on he developed food allergies that it was challenging, and he had other health issue as well, which was bladder issue. I'm not going to go in details about that, but what it was, basically we had to learn to feed him a new diet, a prescription vet recommended diet. We had to learn how to help him to heal from and get over this problem. So I went through a lot of education and studying to learn about overall diet, and especially dogs' diet. And for the past 25, 30 years, I have been feeding my dogs non-commercial food, which I'm going to dive into and talk about that. So I'm kind of, I would say, semi-expert in this area. I just want to share my experiences and my knowledge that I have gathered with you, so you have a better understanding of how to approach your dog's health and diet. Diet is very important. Diet is very health related, and your dog's diet will affect its health and also its behavior. So it's very important to balance it out and figure out what to feed your dog. Now, most dog owners commonly are feeding kibble or dry food, commercial food, which it comes in various forms. Commercial food in general, which is kibble, dry food, canned food, sometimes dehydrated food as well. These are foods that unfortunately are the most used and common form of diet that is purchased and used for dogs, and unfortunately are the worst type of diet that you can feed your dog. One of the main reasons is because dogs are not supposed to eat processed food. A natural being is not supposed to be eating processed food. This applies in humans too. As humans ourselves, we're not supposed to eat processed food. Once in a while is okay, should be okay, could be okay, but not as the main diet. And unfortunately, most dogs are being fed a commercially processed food that is basically their main diet. Day in, day out, they eat this commercially processed food. And the rate of cancer and also health issues that are being developed in dogs is going up and up and up. It's not going down, just because the food companies, dog food companies, have done a great job of promotion and creating this urgency and need for dog owners that they feed their dogs kibble or dry food, thinking and feeling that kibble and dry food are dog food. They're actually not dog food. It's very unnatural for a dog to eat kibble or dry food. Just picture yourself eating processed food 24/7. For a natural being, you need to eat fresh food, you need to eat good, clean food that hasn't been processed. And dogs, being animals whose ancestors were wolves, naturally they thrive on fresh meat, fresh food. They don't thrive on kibble or dry food. Most dog owners, they feed their dogs kibble or dry food. They're keeping their dogs alive, but they're not keeping them to thrive. That's the difference. I hope you will be able to recognize that and make some changes in your approach to the food that you're feeding your dog. Now, the next option or the next approach that dog owners make, they make homemade diets where owners prepare meals from scratch. Now, this option is way much better than feeding commercially processed food. One, because we are not processing the food the way that food companies do. The other good thing is that we kind of know what we are putting in the food, the ingredients. But the challenge is to make it a balanced diet, a diet that is actually beneficial to the dog. Now, whatever homemade food that you're feeding your dog is 100% better than commercially made processed food, but you need to figure out a way to balance it out in a way that has all the benefits that food can provide to your dog. Now, if you dive deep into dog's diet or in general diet overall, there are so many layers that you have to cover. Calcium, protein, vitamins, minerals, supplements, all those things, right? Not to get fancy and not to get scientific and not to make it difficult for you to understand is there are many options. There's BARF option, which is basically biological appropriate raw food. The other one, it's called species appropriate diet, and few others. Now, you can feed your dog food that basically you eat, but without certain spices. There are certain spices, there are certain vegetables that are not good for a dog. But if you learn those and if you figure those out and you remove them from your dog's diet, you can feed your dog anything that you eat. Food, the way it is, it has all the nutrients and vitamins that a body requires. A dog or a human's body requires certain minerals and vitamins and certain things. So when you feed your dog foods such as meat and a little bit of vegetables and certain things like eggs and bones, organs, fruits, vegetables, you're gonna naturally and automatically satisfy all those requirements. One of the things that I really believe is whether you believe in it or not, God has made life very simple. The food that it has made for us to eat, it should give us all the nutrients and all the benefits that we should get from that food. The problem is when we process it or when we add certain things that are not supposed to be there, or we eat it in a way that it's not natural or normal. Now, homemade diets can be balanced, can be made perfect, if you follow certain protocol. And that is something that you have to discuss with a nutritionist, dog food nutritionist, and figure out what works for you and your dog. Now, the other option is raw diet for dogs. As I said, which is basically barf or species appropriate diet. This is the diet that I am feeding my dogs, and I have been feeding my dogs for the past 20 years and over. And I see a lot of benefits into it. I suggest dog owners to approach their dog's diet from raw, fresh point of view. The key word here is species appropriate diet. Dogs as a species needs appropriate diet and needs a certain form of diet. Now, for example, cats, their diet is 100% meat, whereas dogs, their diet is not 100% meat. 65 to 75% of their diet is required to be meat. The rest could be bones, could be organs, could be fruits, could be vegetables, or could be all. The way I feed my dogs is that I mix all those into my dog's meals. So, for example, I feed various types of proteins to my dogs. Now, before I go further, let me enlighten you about this concept. It comes from Chinese medicine, which every individual is producing or is either cold or hot or warm or cool, every individual. What that means is, for example, Harvey, my dog, he is cool. He likes, for example, the sun. So whenever he gets an opportunity that he can go and sunbathe, he goes and sunbathes. He loves the heat of the sun. Whenever the fireplace is on, he goes right in front of it. So he's a cool individual who requires warmth. He needs help with foods that are warming him. On the other hand, Annie, she doesn't care about the sun. She's running hot. She's always hot and needs to cool down. She's always excited. She always wants to go, go, go. High energy, whereas Harvey is low energy, medium energy. Annie needs and requires cool foods. So Harvey, because he's a cool dog, requires warm foods that keep him warm and make him warm. Whereas Annie, she's a hot dog, needs foods that are cooling her off and keep her cool. So understanding this, in a way, it makes sense. Like, for example, me personally, I don't like hot food, spicy food. I'm looking for warm to cool foods. I like warm meals. I like warm cookies. I like warm muffins. But I still enjoy cool foods as well, cool muffins, cool meals. I can eat most of the things that are in cool format. I don't have to warm them up. There are people who love spicy food. Their body requires more heat, right? So I hope you understand the concept. So in a way, you have to figure out your dog's inner temperature and feed your dog based on that understanding. So, understanding that, you provide the type of meat that your dog requires. So I give various types of meats that are matching with my dog's temperatures, inner temperatures. So I change their proteins on monthly kind of basis, sometimes on weekly basis, sometimes on every 2 weeks, depending on whenever we get the meats that we want. I give my dogs meats in raw format. I don't cook them. And the things that I add to my dog's meat, which is the 75%, 65 to 75% that we're talking about is meat. The rest, I give them vegetables. I give them one egg. Give them bones, which are already in the meat. So they eat the meat with the bone. I add some organs in there. And also I add green leafy vegetables. I add some spices such as turmeric, ginger, garlic, and source of omega-3 oil, a little bit of that. And that becomes my dog's daily meal. Now, is it balanced? Not 100%. We're not sure because, we don't know exactly what is going on inside our dogs. Inside of our dog's body, inside of our dog's mind and brain. We don't know. Nobody knows. But what we know is, or what we can do is, we can measure the health results and the quality of life that they're getting. And one of the easiest ways of figuring out how the diet that you're providing for your dog is affecting their health is by checking their stool. The stool quality, color, smell, and all that will tell you how the health of your dog is. Dogs, for example, who are on kibble, they have a lot of stools. They poop a lot of times, often during the day, big chunks of stools. And the other red flag is that it's smelly, really bad, toxic almost. And the shape could be also indication that is not healthy. They have, most of the time they either have diarrheas, soft stools, even if the stools are not runny and it has a shape, the color is indicated as also not healthy. So those are the things that you can watch. You can watch your dog's stool quality. You can test your dog's stool quality to figure out if it's healthy or not. If your dog is drinking too much water or too little water, that's indication of health issue as well. So if your dog is on kibble, definitely drinks a lot of water because it lacks moisture in its diet. Therefore, it needs to supplement the moisture in the body by drinking water, which actually doesn't help. The water goes in and out. It doesn't benefit the body in that form. Whereas when you're feeding your dog raw diet, there are natural moisture that they're getting from the food. And most dogs who are on raw diet, they tend to drink minimum amounts of water. They don't require to drink a lot of water. That's because they're getting the moisture naturally from their meals. And if they drink water, is either because they have been given a dry treat or they have been running and they're thirsty. They drink for those purposes. They're not drinking because they have to supplement their moisture in their body. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is basically the specialty diet, so-called. Most vets are good people. Most vet clinics are there to help dog owners, but most of them also are there to make money. They're running a business. And because they're running a business, they have to make money, and their clients are sick dogs. If there are no sick dogs, they don't have a business. If all dogs were healthy, they wouldn't have a business. They couldn't run a business. They couldn't make money. So they need sick animals. Just like our health industry needs sick people in order to make money, in a dog industry as well, there is that game that is being played, that dogs need to be sick, unhealthy, and the way you can keep a dog sick and unhealthy is by feeding it the wrong diet. Now, vet clinics, they tend to sell grain-free, hypoallergenic prescription diet designed for specific health issue of a dog. And all these that I just mentioned, grain-free, hypoallergenic prescription diets, are there to make your dog sicker. They're not there to help your dog to feel better. Because remember, a sick dog is good customer. So you want to avoid using those diets. One of the simplest things that you can pay attention and get clues from when it comes to vet clinics is whenever you have a sick dog and you take your dog to the vet clinic, the first thing the vet suggests is don't feed your dog the regular food that you've been feeding. Feed your dog a chicken soup with some rice for a few days, and then go back to your regular food. The reason, first of all, they suggest to feed, for example, chicken soup with the rice is because they want you to temporarily heal your dog, Band-Aid solution. So you have hope that your dog is not sick anymore, and then go back to the garbage or the food that you've been feeding, which is kibble and dry food, processed food, prescription diet, grain-free hypoallergenic food, and then get sick again. And the cycle continues and over and over. So why aren't we in the first place feeding our dogs chicken soup with rice? Not saying to feed your dog chicken soup with rice, but what I mean is, why are not we feeding our dogs fresh food all the time? Why only we feed temporary? We should feed our dogs fresh food, homemade, non-processed food. So therefore you know that it's safe, clean. You know what ingredients are in the dog food that you're feeding. And there's no risk involved in feeding a clean, fresh food to your dog. It's natural for dogs to eat fresh food. Now you can either cook the meat that you're feeding your dog, or you can give it raw. But understand that raw is much better and much healthier. You have the option of cooking your dog's meat as well. But you have to, at least other stuff that you're going to be adding to the meat has to be at least raw. I suggest to be raw. Vegetables to be raw, fruits to be raw, organs to be raw, bones to be raw. Speaking of fruits, blackberries are the only food that you can mix with your dog's food whenever you're feeding. There are lots of benefits to blackberries. You don't want to mix most fruits with your dog's food, because fruits digest differently than proteins and other parts of the meal. Fruits, if are mixed with the food, they take longer to digest, and if they stay in the stomach for a long time, they start fermenting and release gases. So you want to feed your dog fruits an hour before or 3 hours after you have fed the meal to your dog. So overall, you want to feed your dog a healthy, fresh food. Educate yourself about dog's diet. It's not very hard. It's not difficult to educate yourself about dog's diet. It takes a little time. It takes a little bit of effort for you to search around and figure out the reality and the truth about dog's diet. One of the books that I highly suggest you to read is by Dr. Karen Becker. It's called The Forever Dog. If you have the opportunity to purchase this book and read it, go ahead and do that. That will give you an overall understanding of dog's diet, health, and everything else that you need to know as a dog owner regarding your dog's health and diet. And the last thing that I want to touch on is whenever you feed your dog fresh food, fresh meal, you're helping them to improve their behaviors as well. When you feed garbage, processed, kibble, dry food to your dog, a lot of toxins are being developed in your dog's system, inner system. And these toxins can affect your not only their body, but their mind and soul as well. And most dogs who have either hyperreactivity or overall behavioral issues, one of the solutions is to change the diet, because whenever you're feeding your dog kibble or dry food, understand that 70% of the bag that you buy from the store in kibble contains sugar. It either has sugar or becomes sugar when it's used in the body. And sugar can cause hyperactivity, a lot of damage to the brain, heart. And when a dog doesn't feel good and healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, they will get stressed, and stress can cause behavioral issues to develop. So consider that as well. In conclusion, I hope I gave you a different view and provided different forms of understanding your dog's diet and to consider what you're going to be feeding your dog. If you have any questions, leave those questions in the comments area. If you have anything to share about dog's diet, feel free to share them in the comment area as well. Let's talk about this topic. Let's talk about this issue that we have in our society as well, with our humans and also our dogs. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I had fun sharing this information. If I missed out anything, if I left out anything, please let me know. I'll answer them, or I'll talk about them in the comments area. Until next time, have fun with your dog.